Welcome to another week of Salute Your Sports. I'm Kamen Enchev. Drew Brackett and Tom Castleman are my co-hosts. Another great week on betting locks of the week for the show where we all had winning records. Back-to-back weeks, we've all had winning records. That's never happened before. We've done it for over a year. That's never happened before. So get our betting locks while we're still hot. We'll have more of those picks near the end of the show, plus a breakdown of some big NFL matchups before that, and we'll talk Stephen Curry and some impressive sports records, a whole bunch of stuff, and more.
Absolutely. Been an interesting weekend in the NFL, starting to round into playoff form, though we don't have the field quite as set as we thought we might in the NFC a couple weeks back. So definitely going to be talking about some horizons as well.
Yeah, guys, should be a great show. And we'll start with the NFL. And the NFC, guys, the playoff races are both tight. We still don't know the last two NFC playoff spots. We know Brady, Rodgers are in. We trust them. Barring something wild, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott will all be in the playoffs. Of those three quarterbacks, who do we trust the most?
Yeah, and who do we trust the least is the other question. So first off, I'll start by saying that I don't trust any of these guys. All of these guys are frauds. I don't trust them. They got to prove it to me before I trust them in a big playoff game. First off, the three of them are combined for one playoff win. Matthew Stafford is 0-3 in the playoffs with 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 2 fumbles. So he has more turnovers than touchdowns, more turnovers than games played, and no wins. Dak Prescott, definitely the one I trust the most of the three. He's 1-2 with 5 touchdowns and 2 picks. Also 2 rushing touchdowns, averaging about 264 pass yards a game. So he's been solid. Not amazing, but Dak Prescott has been solid. He's actually proven to do something in the playoffs. Kyler Murray, never been in the playoffs, and I'm very, very worried about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray had 2 interceptions against the Packers, 2 interceptions against the Rams, the 2 biggest games and best teams the Cardinals have played this season. In those 2 close games, he had 1 interception inside his own 20, putting the other team immediately in the red zone. And then he had 1 inside the opponent's 20, basically screwing his team over of 3 or 7 points. And if those interceptions don't happen, the Cardinals win both of those games. By the way, he also had 2 interceptions in the Cardinals game against the Vikings, which they won by 1 point because the Vikings kicker missed a field goal. So the Cardinals have been cruising most of the season. They're dominating teams, but when the going gets close, the going gets tough, Kyler Murray is the biggest choke artist in the NFL. He's that classic guy who plays from ahead, does not know how to play in a close game. I don't trust Kyler Murray one bit. I trust him the least of those 3. I don't trust Stafford one bit. Quite frankly, the 3 of these guys will probably combine for 0 playoff wins. Dak maybe gets 1 because Dallas gets home field, but man, all of those guys are in big trouble. I hate to say it, but it's going to be Tom Brady in the Super Bowl again. NFC title game is going to be a rematch of last year. Rodgers and Brady. Rodgers will probably outplay Brady, but there will be some phantom play that will happen, and the Bucs will be back in the Super Bowl because none of these other quarterbacks I don't trust. And Taylor Heinicke, by the way, another guy with no playoff wins that could get a wild card spot. Jimmy G, probably one of the guys I trust the most if the 49ers sneak in. Kirk Cousins, he hasn't done squat in the playoffs. I mean, all these quarterbacks in the NFC, somewhere Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are smiling and looking at these matchups for the playoffs.
Well, I think I trust all 3 of these guys a bit more, or considerably more, I guess, than you do, Common. I mean, looking at the matchups, I mean, we might be seeing LA and Dallas, so one of them's got to get a playoff win this year. I think I lean a little bit more toward Dak, like you're saying. But really, the issue with all these guys is sample size. You know, Matthew Stafford played how many years in Detroit, which kind of just like explains why he hasn't really been in the playoffs, period. He's been, for the most part, bereft of having good talent around him as far as all 52 guys on the roster. I know he had Kelvin Johnson, but outside of that, when was the last time Detroit had a good defense that allowed them to compete for a playoff spot? You know, Kyler Murray, same thing. He's in his 3rd season now. Arizona, this is the first year they've been consistently good as well. So I think all three of them have a little bit of something to prove come playoff time. I trust all three of them equally, though. I don't think that they're going to become appreciably worse in the playoffs. I think that the perception is going to be, because in the playoffs it comes down to one play here or there. It comes down to Bostic for the Packers a couple years back messing up on a onside kick that led Russell Wilson and the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. And it's one of those small things where we say, like, hey, Aaron Rodgers has only been to one Super Bowl. Well, what happens if, the ball bounces the other way or something along those lines? So I trust him a good bit more than you do. I trust the talent. I trust, they're going to belong there. They've been proving it for the most part this season. Everybody's had bad moments throughout this year. So I'll do Dak a skosh above everyone else. But what do you?
Can you read this from there?
Matthew Stafford collects his first ever. Oh no, your screen went away.
Here, go ahead, do it now.
Collects his first ever win against an opponent who entered at least 5 games above 500, 0-17. Well, yeah, but again, quarterback wins are a more useless stat than pitcher wins. It's about the team around you. He was playing in Detroit, for God's sake. They were 0-16 the year before they drafted him.
Sure, that's fair. I still think that the point of that stat, though, to me, Tom, is I agree that a lot of the cards have been stacked against all these guys. You're not entirely wrong by any means. And I'm being maybe a little too bold, a little bit too crazy on it. But I'll tell you this, though. The point of a great player is, though, you got to help boost your team at some point. The fact that he was 0-17 in such games is worrisome. The fact that he does have talent around him this year, and he's choked minus this one game. This was the first game he didn't choke.
I think you're just tilted on one Sunday night or Monday Night Football game.
Nah, 2 of them. The Sunday night against the Titans was really bad too.
No, that was a bad one. Yeah, but I mean this Monday game. I think.
What do you think,
past
Drew?
Monday Cardinals Rams.
Oh no, Kyler Murray threw a touchdown against the Packers or an interception in the end zone against the Packers. The Cardinals should have one loss. Kyler Murray should be undefeated as a starter if he wasn't throwing picks left and right. Drew, what do you think?
I mean, I probably trust Matthew Stafford the most out of this group. He played sensational the other night, or last night, I guess. Led his team to a victory over the Cardinals on the road. A lot of players on the Rams had COVID or were contact traced, so it was a mess for the Rams. He was able to get that victory, so he's probably the quarterback I trust the most in the playoffs. And as far as the least, I mean, depends on what team you're on. It's probably, I don't know. The Cardinals didn't look good last night, but man, I just never have faith in the Cowboys anymore.
Okay, so ironically, Tom and I trust Dak the most. You trust Dak the least.
Yeah, I mean, he scares me a lot. And, Kyler's probably younger, so I may trust Dak more than Kyler, but it's close.
Well, I do agree to the point of Matthew Stafford and the Lions. That argument is fair, but I have felt that Matthew Stafford has, and same for Kyler Murray. Both of those teams have looked great when they've been ahead. They haven't played well in tight games. They haven't played well from behind, even with the talent that they have, quite frankly. So that's what worries me about the Cardinals. That's what worries me about the Rams. I feel like it's easy to do well when things are going well. When things all of a sudden, when you're faced with adversity in games, when you're faced with close games, those quarterbacks have not done well in close games, all 3 of them, quite frankly. And that's why I see the playoffs. The playoffs are close games. I think Kyler Murray has to learn how to win the close game. This season, he's improved all of his seasons. Maybe next year is the season that he learns how to do it. But these red zone interceptions are really bad for Kyler Murray. I don't know, I don't know if he needs to see a sports psychologist, because he doesn't throw that many picks, but he throws them at the worst possible time. I mean, he almost kind of reminds me of Tony Romo back in the day. Tony Romo didn't throw a lot of interceptions, but everyone thought he did because he always threw them at just really bad moments. And it wasn't always at the end of the game, but it was always like that play flipped the game. I mean, the Cardinals were up 3-0 last night, going in for a touchdown to make it 10-0. Worst case, the field goes 6-0. They're inside the 3-yard line or inside the 5, for sure inside the 10. I can't remember what it was exactly, but he throws an interception. Like, they could have gone up 10-0. If they were up 10-0, that game was over. I'll tell you what, it was over. And he literally cost his team the game on that play. And then in the second half, it's a close game. Early in the second half, he throws an interception right away, sets up the Cardinals basically on the goal line. So those are type of plays that you simply cannot make as an elite quarterback. You cannot make those plays. And until he proves to me that he's not going to make those in big games, I just don't trust him. And like, here's the thing. He might end up winning the Super Bowl. He's got talent. His team has talent. All these guys have talented players around them. But it's the age-old saying, prove it before I trust you. And I don't think either of these guys have proved it. Part of it has been, especially in Stafford's case at least, the teammates around them. But I haven't seen any of these guys have sustained playoff success individually even, because Matthew Stafford had many seasons with the Lions where they were losing because the defense gave up 35, 40 points. But in his playoff career, they've lost in large part because he's thrown interceptions or fumbled away the ball. So he has been part of the problem in the playoffs the few times he's been there.
So. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens come playoff time with these quarterbacks. And I guess moving on to the big games this week.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the big games this week. Thursday night football. Chiefs at home against the Chargers, or Chiefs on the road against the Chargers. Comment, who do you like?
So this is actually a really, really big game. Like, I mean, if the Chiefs win, this basically decides the division. They'd be up 2 games with 3 to go. If the Chargers win, though, they could be the favorite to win the division because they already beat the Chiefs head-to-head. Both the Chiefs and Chargers have pretty easy schedules the rest of the way, for what it's worth. I can actually see both of them going 3-0 down the stretch. Obviously, year of upsets may not happen, but the point is, like, if the Chargers win, they're in the driver's house for this division all of a sudden, because they would have beaten the Chiefs twice head-to-head. If the Chiefs win, then the Chiefs would be in the driver's seat because they probably would get a better division record because their only division loss came against the Chargers. So it's going to be a great game. I think, ironically, I like the Chiefs better. And it's not because I like their offense better. What is this? I mean, I might like their offense better, but the offenses are pretty close. It's because of their defense. Kansas City, during its 6-game winning streak, has given up 17, 7, 14, 9, 9, and 9 points. 3 straight weeks, they've given up 9 points under 10. Defense is balling. I mean, both of these teams have actually scored exactly 351 points this year. The Chiefs have given up 268. The Chargers, 336. And the Chargers have given up a lot of points in the last 6 or 7 weeks because early in the season, their defense was playing great. The Chiefs are finally rolling. That last game against the Raiders was perhaps the best game any team has played in the NFL this season. For the Chiefs early in the year, their offense was playing well for the most part. Their defense was struggling mightily. Then the defense has been great. The Chiefs' offense has actually been pretty poor the last month, and they've still won. This game, they finally put it all together. They had 2 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. They had a 50-plus yard field goal as well, and they had a scoop and score by the defense. They played defense, special teams, and offense. A perfect game by the Chiefs. They forced 5 turnovers. Didn't get a single turnover is another thing. The Chiefs have gotten their turnovers down in recent weeks. So Kansas City right now looks like, dare I say, top 2 to 3 team in the NFL. I mean, I think it's the Chiefs, Patriots, Bucks, and Packers. Those are the 4 best teams in the league. Hard to pick them in any particular order, but those stand out to me. So yeah, give me the Chiefs. Chiefs should win this game. No problem.
Well, I think it's definitely going to be a tight game for sure because, the Chiefs have looked pretty impressive on this 6-game winning streak. But when you consider some of the opponents that they've played and the condition those opponents were in, I mean, no Aaron Rodgers in that 13-7 win over the Packers, no Amari Cooper in that 19-9 win over the Cowboys, not insignificant. And when you consider that going back all the way to the Titans loss when they lost 27-3, in the past 7 games, I found this fascinating about Patrick Mahomes. In the past 7 games, excluding the 2 games against the Raiders, which have been a dysfunctional team. But in 5 of the last 7 games, Mahomes is averaging zero point 0.4 touchdowns per game, and 218 yards per game. Again, that's excluding what he's done against Las Vegas. So it's one of those things where does the defense look a little bit better because they've been playing teams that haven't been full strength on offense? And, has that been kind of covering up for some of the offensive deficiencies? So it's kind of hard to know if, like, this last game against Las Vegas, are the Chiefs actually putting it all together, or are they just catching one of the most dysfunctional teams in the NFL right now at a bad time? That's why I think this game is going to be really, really close. LA, the Chargers don't have much of a home field advantage or home crowd to speak of as of yet, because they're still kind of making that fan base transition from San Diego to Los Angeles. But I definitely think it's going to be close. If the Chargers defense can play comparably well to what they've done the past couple of weeks, where they held the Bengals to 21 points, and then they held who they faced this last game? The Giants. Well, Giants aren't that great of a team.
They're not.
If they can do somewhat well, I mean, Justin Herbert's definitely shown that the Chargers offense can keep up with the Chiefs. So it's just really a matter of, is Kansas City's defensive turnaround for real, or is it just a mirage because of who they've been playing? I think I slightly lean Chiefs, but I definitely think it's going to be close, like single possession, last second field goal, that type of thing.
Yeah, it'll be a close game, and I'll probably, have to go with the home team here. I think I like the home dog and the Chargers, and Justin Herbert and company. Keenan Allen, I think, will be back from the COVID reserve list. So Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, good luck, Chiefs secondary.
I'll say this about those stats that you mentioned, Tom. It is, as you say, small sample size. 5 games is small sample size. It's very convenient to take out the 2 great games, which essentially make up, basically 30% of it. But I'd maybe say flip it the other way. Maybe Patrick Mahomes realizes that they have some offensive line concerns. Maybe the offense isn't quite what it was. And maybe he realizes that, hey, let me not force the ball. I'm okay putting up less numbers if we're already winning. It's different when your defense is playing well and you're not asked to put up those numbers. Also, keep this in mind. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great running back. During much of this season, he's been injured, either playing hurt or not playing well. He's come back and looked pretty good. He looked good last week, got 2 touchdowns. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire should improve that Chiefs offense as well. As far as home road stuff, I mean, the Chargers don't have a home field advantage, and the home teams actually haven't done very well this year, quite frankly. I mean, you look at the best teams in the league, the Cardinals are 3-3 on the road and 7-0 at home. The Patriots are very similar as well. So in the Chiefs, oddly enough, despite Arrowhead Stadium, you look at the last 3 years, the Chiefs have nearly identical home versus road records. So I don't really buy so much into the home field in this game, especially given that it's the Chargers, as Tom mentioned, not a team that really is known for a raucous fan base. So I just don't, in this specific game, I'm not saying that home field sometimes doesn't make a small difference, but in this specific game, I don't think home field makes much of a difference. I just think the Chiefs defense is better. Are they as good as the numbers have been the last 6 weeks? Probably not, but I mean, they're giving up about 10 points a game. They don't have to give up, they can give up 17 points and still win this game. And that's the most they've given up in that 6-game stretch. In fact, the last 5 games in a row, they haven't given up 17 points. So I think the Chiefs do win this game. I do think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be a little bit more comfortable than you think, Tom. I think it's going to be where they win by 7 points, maybe 3 points, but they're up anywhere 3-7. They either run the clock out or the Chargers get it back, last second Hail Mary type thing. Maybe they get a backdoor cover. Chiefs are up 10 or something, but I don't think it's going to be where you're sweating it out till the last second and where you legitimately think the Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be a close, comfortable win, if there ever is a such thing.
You just want it to be 27-0. That's what you're looking for.
That would make my day. As a Chiefs fan, that would make my day. I'm cool with 27-0.
Moving on to the Patriots and the Colts. Colts are at home in this one on Saturday night. Common, who do you like?
Same deal. I mean, throw out the home field advantage. The Patriots are undefeated on the road. These guys haven't lost on the road all season. While my microphone shakes here, they're 6-0 on the road. So I really think the Patriots don't mind playing on the road. I think Bill Belichick knows how to win road games. Even Mac Jones, I mean, think about him in Alabama. How many tough environments has he gone into as an Alabama quarterback? These guys are just fine on the road. So again, this road field advantage for the Colts. And that's the thing, like it's inside a dome too, like road field advantage in a dome. It's like, it's different like when it's like home field advantage for a team that knows how to play those conditions and another team doesn't. Like say like you have like a team that plays out in the warm weather or in a dome, all of a sudden they have to go into like the freezing cold tundra and it's a passing team and they have to run the ball, then home field makes a difference then. But this is a game inside a dome in Indianapolis. I'm not worried about the Colts or the Patriots in this game, rather. I am worried about the Colts. I know Jonathan Taylor's a phenomenal running back, but they are mostly a one-dimensional offense. Carson Wentz has had some good moments, but a lot of them have come against the weaker teams. So he hasn't been consistent enough as a passer. I mean, they're bottom half of the league in passing yards. They don't really win because of their passing game. And even though the Pats are better against the pass than against the run, they're still pretty good against the run. And my thought is a one-dimensional offense against Bill Belichick and the Patriots off a bye week. On top of that, good luck, Colts. I don't get how the Bucks are, the Patriots are 2.5-point underdogs. I mean, they've won 7 weeks in a row. I think I've bet on maybe 6 of those 7 games. They've been my lucky team. Other teams that might bet on and lose, but the Patriots, until they lose for me, I'm going to keep going with them because these guys have won every but which way. They've won close games. They've won blowouts. They've relied more on their defense and run game, but Mac Jones has also proven he can make plays when called upon. The Patriots are 9-4. The Colts are 7-6. I know they got off to that rough start early, but I trust the Patriots a lot more in this game. I question the Colts coaching staff, which, by the way, didn't want to give Jonathan Taylor the ball much against the Bucks. Good luck against Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I like the Patriots as well. The thing that Bill Belichick does best is game plan, where he doesn't necessarily go for a straight up scheme as much as he goes for making you try to beat him with your second, third, fourth best option. So I like the Patriots a little bit better than the Colts as well on the road. Patriots along with the Cardinals, 2 teams that have been outstanding on the road. And I don't know if struggles necessarily is the right word, but they've been about, average at home as far as record goes. So I'll take Patriots on the road as well.
I'm going with the home team again. I like the Colts. I think Jonathan Taylor's sensational. He's going to disrupt the Patriots. And, Mac Jones is going to have to throw the ball. It's not going to be like in Buffalo. So I'll take Carson Wentz over Mac Jones.
Drew loves the home field. He's like, oh man, they're at home. Ooh,
not the next game. Not the next game.
Okay, what do you got in the next game, Mr. Brackett?
Ravens Packers, guys. Ravens at home, and Lamar kind of banged up a little bit. Not sure he's gonna play. We'll see if he does. But I like the Packers in this situation. It's -4.5 right now. They'll probably win by like a field goal. It'll be a close game, but I like Aaron Rodgers to come out and win this game.
Yeah, I think the Packers are one of the best in the league against the spread. So I think they'll win by more than that. I did see that Lamar Jackson is supposed to play. That's what Harbaugh said. So I think Jackson's going to play. And don't forget, Rodgers is actually banged up too, but we can't tell because he owns the Bears no matter what condition his toe is in. Maybe that toe isn't as bad as he's claiming. That maybe just be Rodgers hyping up the toe. But who knows? Who knows how healthy they're going to be? But the Packers are a better team. I mean, and here's the issue with this game. The Ravens are second to last in the league in pass defense. That's a defense that Aaron Rodgers is going to torch in the passing game. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are probably out here having a steak dinner and laughing at the Ravens secondary over dinner because they're smiling. They're going to be happy. They're going to like what they see. The Ravens made Tua look like Tua of Alabama with all those wide open receivers he was finding a few weeks back. So they're a bad defense. They even made Baker Mayfield look like college Baker Mayfield last week too. So give me the Packers. I don't think this game is going to be close, honestly. I do think the other two games we talked about will be close. I can see Green Bay winning by 2 scores in this game. I really can.
I mean, in large part, that does come down to Lamar's health with the ankle. I mean, we saw that with him out, he basically is the Baltimore Ravens offense in terms of they don't really have a lot of great weapons. They have some good ones, but when you put in Huntley instead of Lamar, that's just it's night and day. If that's the sort of situation, if Lamar is hobbled and incapable of being his usual self with that ankle injury, we absolutely could see a 2-score game. But I think he's got enough, talent in him to keep it somewhat close. But the Ravens, it goes to show how tough it can be in the NFL, especially, just as it is, it's tough to play in the NFL. But when you have so many injuries, particularly in the defensive backfield, where they've lost so many guys this season, it's going to be really easy for Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers to kind of pick apart that secondary. So I think this could be a game where, it might seem close because, Baltimore will get it within that range, but then Rodgers and Adams are just going to put it away at the end with, not necessarily an improv play per se, but definitely some sort of, like hot route or something like that, where they just say, okay, I'm just going to beat this guy straight up. And there goes the rest of the play.
Lamar Jackson must have known that I like to hate on him because he single-handedly, by his injury, which wasn't his fault, cost me a playoff spot. Because I told you, Tom, what was going to happen. My team awoke from hibernation. My team is legit now because Leonard Fournette is playing like the second best running back in the league. So had Drew beaten Allie, my girlfriend, in fantasy, then I would have played her next week, would have beat her, which I still will beat her, and I would have made the playoffs. And literally my prediction that I made literally hinged on Drew beating Allie, which he was projected to. He lost by 4 points. Lamar Jackson had 1 point. And how in the world did James Conner get double the fantasy points of DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, I got screwed in fantasy. Come on. Thank you very much, Lamar. I was ready for a playoff spot.
I didn't know there was that much riding on her victory. I would have just benched everybody. But, yeah, that's incredible. I had no idea. I mean, I lost that matchup, and, it was James Conner that just lit everybody up. So
if she lost, I still would have needed a little help next week. But in theory, would have set up me versus her for the last playoff spot, assuming Jerry and Jake both also lose, which I think is likely because I think Jake at this point has mailed it in. I think he's the only person in our league who has mailed it in. So
no, I'm facing him. He's projected right with me.
Well, I think he might have gotten caught by that Thursday night game last week because he definitely didn't play Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen was out. So, but I think Adam Thielen is supposed to come back in, so that's why his projection maybe went up. But
well, we'll see what happens come playoff time. It's always exciting.
Well, I'm out now. It's not exciting anymore. I'm eliminated.
It's exciting for Tom and I.
Unless I win.
Castleman's always in like second or first. Tommen's always in last.
No. First off, I was actually a couple things real quick about fantasy. I was explaining this to Alec Johnson, who, by the way, is in first place in the league. He's my friend Sam's college buddy. So someone who I'm like friends with because he's in the journalism field and he's like likes to make contacts with me. So we're good friends. He's not good friend. Well, we are good friends, but he's a good guy. Anyways, he's never won fantasy ever. He's never made the playoffs in any fantasy league he's ever been in. And he's now in first, running away with the league. And I was trying to explain to him how fantasy goes in cycles. So about the first 7-8 years I did fantasy, I used to be Jerry, who, by the way, the guy who owns our league, isn't going to make the playoffs this year. I used to be him. I was always winning. Then I had about a 5-year stretch where I was finishing like barely making the playoffs, barely missing, about average. And now I'm in my cold stretch right now, which only means that my hot stretch is coming back very, very soon. So don't you worry. I will be back.
Jerry can absolutely make the playoffs.
He needs a lot of help.
He needs to win. Allie needs to lose, and he needs to outscore her by like 20 points. 14 points.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all really manageable stuff.
It's not going to happen. Jerry's toast.
Very manageable.
Jerry is toast. Hasta luego, Jerry. No playoffs for you. Sorry,
yeah,
Jerry
the guy
Bear.
in first, I didn't realize his team is stacked.
I know. I mean, most overachieving team ever. I'll tell you this. He did a good job of drafting, but Cooper Kupp. He has Cooper Kupp. I will say this. Cooper Kupp is having the most overachieving season in fantasy history in the National Football League. Statistically, there's only been one season in the history of fantasy. Jerry Rice, by 0.8 points more, averaged more fantasy points than what Cooper Kupp is averaging this year. Cooper Kupp's been a very good player, but hasn't even been close to the numbers he's putting up. Like when I had Peyton Manning in fantasy the 2 years he set the touchdown records, like, yeah, he overachieved, but it was Peyton Manning. Like anyone wouldn't be shocked by Peyton Manning going nuts. Cooper Kupp, and he has Jonathan Taylor, another guy that's overachieved. He has
Najee Harris too. He has all these dudes.
It's unbelievable. His team is stacked. He's gonna win. How could he not win?
He has like top 5 at every position with both of his players. Wow.
I know his team is stacked. Tom Castleman looked like the top team when he had Kyler Murray and Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry went down. Kyler Murray went down. Now he's back and throwing interceptions left and right. So Tom is probably Tom's a shoe-in for second. You guys will play each other next week, by the way. It's already been clinched. Alec clinched the 1 seed, then a 2 or 3 seed. It really doesn't matter who gets it. It will be one of you guys. So you guys play each other next week, or the following week, rather, in the playoffs. I'm going to at least get 5th place. I'll win the consolation playoffs if we have it. I'm not even sure. I'm the league commissioner. I don't even know what the settings are like, but I hopefully will win that. Because I had over 200 points this week. My best week when it doesn't even matter. What's going on?
That's unfortunate.
Can we start the season again? Because Leonard Fournette was sleeping early in the season. He's awoken now. I want the season with Leonard Fournette right now, the rest of the way. I feel like I would at least finish top 2 or 3.
You haven't finished top 2 or 3 in this league in a few years, so
it's been a few years.
It's been a while, but I tell you, fantasy, I've gotten really lucky. I'm in 6 leagues. I'm in the playoffs in 5, so we'll take it.
Okay, not bad.
Anyway, where are we at? I guess we're to the association now, as
sure are.
Steph Curry gets underway, 2 3-pointers away from breaking Ray Allen's all-time record. Golden State playing the Knicks tonight. I guess it's Tuesday night for those watching later. Here in about 15 minutes, Common, I'm sure you're just so excited you might end the show early. What do you think?
I might. I got to go watch this game. I also got to do my laundry too this week. But anyways, I'll tell you this. This is like, it's one of those, I actually said this to my co-hosts at my job. For our sports show that we do sports memorabilia. We do like a podcast, basically selling sports memorabilia. I told him this, like, Stephen Curry is going to break the record at Madison Square Garden. I said this before the Pacers game because I know he needed like 7 threes or whatever against the Pacers. I was like, I don't think he's going to get it. And I think he actually would like to break it at Madison Square Garden now that it's extended a little bit longer than we thought. And it's fitting because everyone kind of fell in love with Stephen Curry in college and at Davidson. So it's not like he wasn't like not known, but NBA versus college fans are a little bit different fan bases. And it's just a little bit different feeling because you might've done it in college, but that doesn't mean that you'll do it in the pros. Just ask Adam Morrison about that one. So it was sort of like Curry's coming out party in the NBA, where he kind of announced himself to the entire basketball league and the entire basketball world. I mean, people like, NBA is very popular in China, by the way, and people in China don't watch college basketball. And Lebanon, by the way, I'm in a Lebanese fans of the NBA group. Don't ask me how I got in there, but I did somehow. And they also love the NBA in Lebanon. So quite frankly, Stephen Curry announced himself to the world at Madison Square Garden, where he dropped 54 points, put on a show. This was back when we were in college, actually. This was it 2013, I think, maybe our senior year for Drew and I think Tom's junior year. So it's kind of fitting that it's still one of the legendary arenas in sports. It doesn't kind of hold as much of the aura as it used to because now in social media, we see everyone gets the publicity, but it still has a little bit something special. And to the historians of the game, which Stephen Curry is, I think he'd like to set that record in that legendary arena, and he's going to do it. It's going to be really, really cool. My question to you guys is, where does a Stephen Curry rank among the most influential basketball players of all time? Because I know, obviously, it's not only Curry, but the three-pointer and kind of the game that's changed. It's not a coincidence that it happened with him and Klay Thompson and the Warriors winning those rings. I mean, he's got to be top 10 best, period. But in terms of influential, I've got him for sure top 5. Where does he rank among the most influential players in NBA history?
Yeah, I think top 5 is an appropriate place to put him. I mean, if we look at some of the different revolutionary players, even just within the past 30 years, I mean, Michael Jordan was revolutionary in showing that you can win a championship without having to center your team around a dominant big man, because that was the prevailing theory with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with Hakeem Olajuwon, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. You know, you need a big guy, Moses Malone. You need a big guy in the middle to win a championship. And then Michael Jordan showed, no, you can do that with a two guard who can slash and attack the rim. And we saw that kind of take over as the prevailing wisdom. And then LeBron James comes along and shows, like, you don't necessarily even need 2 big men. You just need to have like one centralized passer and more spacing. So kind of creating more of that atmosphere. That was revolutionary in his own right, where he took being a bigger player and not having to be kind of like the traditional power forward, 6'9", 250, which is, where he currently, typically sits. Most decades in the NBA, he's going to be a power forward. He's going to be, like a Charles Barkley, Karl Malone type of player. But he showed, no, I can take my athleticism and do so many more things with my court vision and passing ability. And then Steph Curry just takes it a step further, kind of bringing the game more and more away from the basket, where I don't have to be 6'6" and super athletic, or 6'9" and super athletic. I'm 6'3", athletic in my own right in a different way. But instead of having to bang with all the bodies down in the post type of thing, going for those little floating layups, which he's still good at, he can tack the hoop from range, which has completely revolutionized the game. So yeah, I'd say he's easily top 5. And it's interesting how with each iteration of the game and how it's developed, there is that paragon person right at the front. So yeah, I think top 5's fair. Not necessarily like in a ranking system, just like if we hit like different flashpoints of NBA history, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think top 5 is the way to go, as it's a record that's going down probably against the Knicks. We'll see what happens, but unbreakable records in sports, guys. What do you think are the top 5? I know obviously Cal Ripken's record is probably one of the most untouchable in my mind. Common, what do you think?
Yeah, real quickly, I want to hit one more thing on Steph Curry, Drew. Sorry, I'm just got to say one more thing about Mr. Curry. So I'm actually going to go ahead and rank him in terms of just an exact ranking. So first off, several of the most influential guys, I would say, have to think back. Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell were big men. They were kind of the first popular players. But then Magic Johnson and Larry Bird kind of really took the game to a next level. That's when the NBA started being on TV more, and their rivalry kind of got people fired up. Michael Jordan took it to another level of those guys. And Michael Jordan, I think, is the most influential because he's the most well-known. He was bigger than basketball, his brand, and it showed at the 92 Olympics how much everyone in the world wanted to see Michael Jordan. And like perfect example is my grandma. My RIP, she died a few years ago, but I asked her like a bunch of athletes if she knew who they were. She didn't even know who Michael Phelps was, a current Olympian. And I basically listed off about 10 guys across sports, and the only one that she knew was Michael Jordan. Everyone knows who Michael Jordan is. He is, quite frankly, one of the very most popular athletes of all time, not just in America. I mean, even in other countries where people aren't necessarily watching basketball as much, they know who Jordan is. So his airness and his aura, he's definitely the most influential without question. And then I think Magic and Larry are a little bit behind him. I think certainly LeBron, given what he does off the court, is very influential. But I think and he's influential because he's different. He's like a mix of MJ and Magic, which is special in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see Stephen A. talking about it, and I actually think Stephen Curry, if we're talking strictly on the court into the game of basketball, I mean, I think LeBron James has more longevity than Curry. Curry's already had so many seasons where he was hurt, and he obviously didn't come out of high school, so he's missing a few years. So, I mean, LeBron will probably end up with a more legendary career when we take it all into effect. And when we take into effect all he does, rebounding, defense, like a better overall player. But in terms of more influential, Stephen Curry, I think, is slightly more influential than LeBron James. He is the second most influential player in the history of the NBA because the game changed. I know it wasn't just him, but he's the one that kind of made the three-pointer hot. As great as Klay Thompson is, Klay Thompson was still second to Curry. They won the ring with the three-pointers, and you're not just going to change how the whole league plays unless the league sees results. The fact that the Warriors won with three-point shooting, with two guards, with no big man whatsoever at all, Tom Castleman, as you were talking about big men back in the day, the league has changed because of him. The way kids play, even like having interviewed young athletes, like they want to shoot the three ball like Steph Curry. Like the three ball is now hotter than the dunk, which is why I think Steph Curry is hotter than LeBron James. Like that, it's all about shooting the three ball. So I think Steph Curry, to me, has done more of, at least on the court, especially changing the way the game of basketball is played than LeBron has. You can maybe even argue even more so than MJ, but I still say MJ gets a slight edge to me than Curry because MJ has such brand recognition, the ads, the Nike, the Gatorade. He's influential. Like he kind of made the NBA brand, and he made the NBA commercials, you know, kind of like what guys are doing based off him. So MJ number one, number two, Stephen Curry. As far as most unbreakable records, I'll let you guys get started because I have some surprise records, and I did list them 5-1, but there's a whole bunch of honorable mentions. But go ahead, guys.
All right. Well, the ones that I think are, five of the most unbreakable records. One of them is Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure at least one of you guys will have it on there. 2,857 points. I mean, he played in an era in the 80s where scoring was way up over what it currently is. I think in part because goalies were wearing much smaller pads, so they weren't able to block quite as much, just kind of ancillary movement. So I think that's definitely one of them. Cal Ripken,
I like
2,632 consecutive games. I mean, rarely do players even do 162 games in a season. So Cal Ripken, untouchable. Wilt Chamberlain, 50.4 points per game. That's going to be untouchable as well. Just we talked about like how there's more and more scoring in the NBA, but between like load management, between usually a lot of different players contributing to team success. And then even if you have one person who is capable of getting 50 points on a given night, they're not going to get that every single night because what's the other team going to do? They're going to focus. Defenses have become much more sophisticated once everybody started being around the same height as opposed to Wilt Chamberlain dominating much smaller competition. The last two that I have, this one is kind of like a split unbreakable. Cy Young, 511 career pitching wins, and perhaps more fun, 749 complete games. That's obviously never going to happen again because baseball's changed so much. And the last one, I'll go to the collegiate level. Pete Maravich with 3,667 career points, averaging about 40 a game. If you have the talent to do that at the NCAA level, you are one and done. You're going pro. Maravich did that in 3 seasons. I don't see anybody. I mean, maybe some small school senior can do that in 4 or 5 years or something like that. If there's a red shirt in there or a graduate season in there, maybe if they're playing against, the little nuns of mercy, so to speak. But pretty much that's an untouchable one.
I love it, Castleman. What do you have, Drew Brackett? I absolutely love the Cy Young one, by the way. I'll get to that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that I'll probably go with Emmitt Smith's rushing yards. I mean,
That's a good
running
one.
backs don't play that long, and they don't have it in them to do
Mhm.
that.
Well, they don't run the ball as much either, even the ones that do
That too.
play.
Yeah,
That too.
you have split backfields. Everybody's sharing the load. Absolutely, that's a great one.
Yeah, and then UConn women's 111 straight wins. I just don't see it happening at the collegiate level in Division One, men's or women's. It just doesn't happen nowadays because the best teams play each other, and that UConn, those teams were just so good. We won't see that probably ever again.
Cool.
What do you got, Common? You got all your numbers and honorable mentions and rankings.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
First off, I had several of the ones you guys talked about, so I won't spend too much time hitting on those. I love Cal Ripken's record. I'm not saying that it's not impressive. I'm just going off like remarkable statistical things. So just to me, it's like you play it every day. And he was a very good player. He did play at a high level, but like Cal Ripken is not top 10, not even top 20 best baseball players of all time. So that, like, to me, like, I love that record, but I have a hard time putting it in there. It is one of the most unbreakable, but I think there's probably other records that are more impressive. So, like, I think there's easily 7 or 8 records that won't be broken. That may be one of them. I don't know. It's not.
Hold on, Hold on.
I want Drew's rebuttal.
Hold on now. So you just told me in a 10-minute rant that Steph Curry is like a top 5 influential player of all time.
Sure.
Statistically, is he a top 5 player? Not a chance.
He's close. He's not far off top 5. He's much closer to top 5 than Cal Ripken is.
No, not a. Okay, sure, but
Steph Curry's a multi-time MVP. He's gonna retire.
Points per game is low. It's like, he's not even top 20 at points per game averaging throughout entire career.
Kobe Bryant's not even top 10. Barely.
That's fine. I'm not arguing for Kobe. You're talking about Steph.
Yeah, because Steph played on a super team for 3 to 4 years where he sacrificed, and he played hurt earlier in his career. Steph Curry is closer to being a top 5 player than Cal Ripken. Is Steph Curry going to be top 5 all time? Probably not, but he is much closer to top 5 all time than Cal Ripken. I'll tell you that much.
All right,
I have no problem saying Curry will be top 10. Cal Ripken's record is very unbreakable. A few honorable mentions that you guys didn't hit on. I would say Lionel Messi, 91 goals in a calendar year. Are you kidding me? Lionel Messi. Look at Leo. Look at him back there looking all good. What a superstar. I mean,
I would name a young soccer player, but I don't know any. So.
Oh, there's so many. Haaland, Mbappe, so many young, talented players. Those two are the leading ones. But, I mean, a lot of times the leading guy in a calendar year gets like 50, 60 goals, which is this generation. It used to be like you would get 30 or 40. So no one really has been that close to touching that 91. It was 73 club goals. Or 73 in like a club season, 91 in a calendar year. Really, really impressive record. Here's a good one. Dick Night Train Lane had 14 interceptions in a season in the National Football League. These days, when you get about 7 or 8, they stop throwing at you that much. So I don't know that anyone's going to break that. For my top 5, I mean, again, there's so many others, but I just had to pick stuff that I was just wowed by. Number 5 for me was Wayne Gretzky, 2,857 points. No other hockey player has more than 2,000 career points. Gretzky had more assists than any other hockey player has career points. So I don't think Wayne's record will be topped. It's possible, but it'll be hard. Number 4, I have Joe DiMaggio, 56-game hitting streak. No player has ever come within 20% of DiMaggio's streak. Pete Rose reached 44 games in 1978. I just don't see it happening, especially in the modern day analytics. You can get walked much more easily. Averages are down across the majors. I mean, there's shifts left and right. And to do it 56 games in a row, everything has to go right. You can hit a line drive at someone. You can go 0 for 4 with 4 line drives or 4 deep flies to the warning track. That's just how the game is. So that's impressive. Number 3, this is one of the ones that I found online that doesn't get talked about nearly enough among sports records, and that is Ricky Henderson, 1,406 stolen bases. A player could steal, listen to this, a player could steal 70 bases for 20 consecutive seasons and still not beat Henderson's mark. By the way, Starling Marte had 47 stolen bases last year to lead the MLB. So the MLB leader from last season would basically have to play like 40 seasons to do it. So that's not going to happen. Number 2, I had Wilt Chamberlain, 50.4 points per game. Tom said it, like, the league is different. Defenses scheme to stop superstars. And also, we have super teams. It's very rare that you have one superstar that's doing all the scoring. Most of these stars play with a co-star that takes away from the ability to jack up enough shots. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain took a whole bunch of shots. He did shoot over 50%, but not much over 50%. A lot of the reason that he averaged 50 points in that season, yes, obviously he's amazing. Yes, obviously he was a man amongst boys, but man, he took a whole bunch of shots. I don't think anyone's going to be taking as many shots as Wilt was. The game was different back then. I mean, he would have been called a ball hog in the modern era. I mean, the guy was jacking up like an insane amount of shots during that season. So number 1, I think this one is never going to get touched. Like, if I had to pick one record that will never, ever come even remotely close to being touched, it is Cy Young with 749 complete games. No one throws their pitchers that much anymore. We see the bullpen guys. We see the 5-man rotations. Everyone's concerned about injuries to their starters. I mean, the game was so different back then. They had, 3-man rotations. Some teams had 2-man rotations. Heck, like, people weren't really concerned about what the curveball can do to your arm. Like, that's just stuff they didn't even really care about. So I think that is without question the most unbreakable record. And all the ones we've listed, a lot of them are unbreakable, but like, let's throw the Wayne Gretzky one out there. It's possible we get a phenom that does that. Is it likely? No, but it's possible. But Messi, same thing. Messi, it's possible someone gets that many goals. Even Joe DiMaggio, like, maybe someone goes on an insane streak. But this is over an entire career. To get 749 complete games, never going to happen.
There you go. Curry has 1-3 so far, by the way.
All right, so he's going to set the record coming up here.
Locks of the week, how'd we do?
By the way, Curry's record is going to be tough to break. It's going to be very tough to break. Keep that in mind, because that's going to be a tough record to break himself. He's doing this, by the way, in almost half the amount of games that Ray Allen did. So it's wild. Locks of the week, we did great. The best week for me, I was 4-1. How about that? I should have been 5-0 if Kyler Murray didn't throw interceptions left and right. Unbelievable. I'm still so mad at Kyler Murray. More on that in statement of the week. Kyler Murray, why are you doing this to me, man? So I had Lakers -4 over the Celtics. I was right. They won by 15. That was last Tuesday night. Cardinals -2 over the Rams. Wrong. The Rams won 30-23. I tend to get barbecued when it comes to bets, but I was in the opposite end. You know those bad beats that I always get? This was a good win. The Ravens +2.5 against the Browns. The Browns winning 24-22. The Ravens got a touchdown late in the game. It was one of those games they say significant to some. There was like a minute to go. There was no way they were going to score a touchdown and get the onside kick and score again. The game was over unless you bet the Ravens +2.5. They covered Huntley, by the way, Tom. You were talking about him earlier. Tyler Huntley actually didn't look too bad. I'll say Lamar Jackson is better, but he actually played pretty good. So don't sleep on Mr. Huntley. I just think the Packers are going to go crazy on that Ravens secondary. Seahawks -7.5 at the Texans. Seahawks winning by 20. Bucks -3.5 over the Bills. The Bucks won 33-27. I got both lucky and unlucky in that one. They were up big early. I was literally ready to call that one over. Somehow the Bills tied it up. But then the Bucks thankfully got a touchdown in overtime. So 4-1 for me, 3-2 for both of you guys. Drew got his soccer over-under wrong this week. Arsenal Southampton under 2.5. Arsenal won 3-0, 3 goals in that one. Vikings -3 over the Steelers. You got that one right, 36-28. The Steelers were in hibernation mode the first half, then they came out of their caves in the second half. Rams +2.5 at the Cardinals. Of course, Drew went against me, and of course, he got it right. Bears +12.5 at the Packers. The Packers won 45-30. Drew was probably smiling at halftime, but then they must have had some kind of talking to, because the Packers defense itself awoke from hibernation. Aaron Rodgers was on fire the whole game. Titans -9 over the Jags. The Titans won 20-0. That was an obvious pick. I feel like I should have put like $2,000 on that game, but I didn't. But that would have been a smart mortgage bet, Drew. That was a good one by you. Tom, you went 3-2. Saints -5 at the Jets. Saints winning 39. Washington +4 versus the Cowboys. You missed that. Boys win by 7. Steelers +3 at the Vikings. You were literally a Pat Freiermuth holding on to the ball away from hanging on there. Vikings winning by 8. You also had the Seahawks covering against the Texans like I did, and then Chargers -10.5 over the Giants. The Chargers winning 37-21 on the season. I'm going to get above 500. I'm telling you guys, it's coming. 29-31. I'm almost there. Tom is 32-25-3. And Drew Brackett in first place, 34-24-2.
Curry broke the record.
All right, good deal. What's the score in that game?
12-10.
The Warriors winning?
Yes.
Oh,
they're up by
goodness.
2. Yes.
Yeah, I vowed betting break until Saturday, but DraftKings offered me a free bet, and I think I bet on the Warriors to cover. I did some parlay, something with Steph Curry's over points. Has D Rose entered the game yet?
He has 5 points.
Oh, yes, he does. All right, let's go. All right, good. All right,
I'm over there doing those same game parlays. Lovely.
Got the same. I have like Rose's over, and I have like Steph Curry's over, but I have it like boosted to a lower amount. You know how they have like the over, then you can get like over. Like I have it at something like 24.5. Like if like a betting site might have Steph Curry's over under at 27.5, but you can get it for 24.5 at lower odds. It's part of the same game parlays.
Yeah.
So I have like Curry's over at a little bit lower number. So, okay, well, maybe I'll hit that one. We'll see. Knock on wood. I should have sent it to you, Drew. We'll see. All right. Well, hey, locks of the week. Drew, start us off.
Yeah, I'll start EPL, Southampton and Brentford under 2.5 goals. To the NFL we go. Chargers +3 over the Chiefs Thursday night.
Of course.
And then we'll go Bills against the Panthers under 43.5 points. Colts -2.5 over the Patriots.
Of course.
And then Eagles against the football team over 43.5.
Okay. Tom, what do you got?
Let's see. I've got like a little bit of I don't know. I might be leaning Chelsea -1.5 over Everton. I've heard Everton's kind of bad, but I'll stick with
soccer.
The NFL.
Let's go! Oh,
no, okay, fine. I'll take Chelsea -1.5 over Everton. We'll make it official.
All right, good. Yes,
Chelsea's losing outright.
Yep, they're losing outright. Mark it down right now.
So I got to pick one of these games to bump thing because I had 5 NFL games to go with. I like the Bills -10, same as you, Drew. I also like the Patriots +2.5. I have it as 2 of Bovada, but if you guys have it at 2.5, I'll go ahead and take that extra half point.
We'll give it to you.
For the road team.
I have the Colts, I think, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying same game, opposite of.
Yeah.
And same as me.
I'll do Bengals on the road +1.5 against the Denver Broncos. And then Vikings -3 or Steelers +1.5 at home. Give me the Vikings -3.5 against the Bears on Monday night.
Oh, back to the Vikings. Well,
here we go. Tom likes fading the Bears. All right. Well,
they'll probably lose outright too.
Yeah. Drew and I have 2 different picks. So this is a little scary for me, but I'll go ahead and go up against the locks of the week leader, Mr. Bracket. I have the Chiefs -3 at the Chargers. Chiefs are rolling on defense. I said it earlier, 17-7, 14-9, and 9. The last 6 games, points they've allowed. KC put it all together in that 48-9 win over the Raiders. They did it on defense, offense, special teams. They had 2 pass touchdowns, 3 rush touchdowns, a long field goal, a scoop and score. Chiefs have allowed 268 points this year. Chargers 336. They both scored the same amount of points, but the Chiefs just have a better defense. KC rolling after 6 straight wins, going to make it 7 by more than a field goal. Patriots plus 2.5 at the Colts. Told you this, Pats have won 7 straight weeks. I think they've covered the line every week. I've bet on at least 6 of those 7 games, if not all 7. The Pats are definitely my lucky team. I'll tell you this, the Chiefs have been my unlucky team. Every time I've bet on the Chiefs, they've lost. So I'm going with my unlucky team in the Chiefs and my lucky team in the Pats. 6-0 on the road, New England is. A home field doesn't mean much for the Colts. One-dimensional Colts offense that likes to run the ball. Bill Belichick coming off a bye. He'll have a game plan schemed up for Mr. Jonathan Taylor. Then I like the Packers. -5 at the Ravens. Both QBs banged up, but I'm taking the Packers. Ravens second to last in pass defense. Whole bunch of injuries in the secondary, as Tom said. Whole bunch of injuries all over the field. Packers should cruise Rodgers to Adams all day long. Then I have the Cardinals -13.5 at the Lions. I absolutely hate Kyler Murray in a close game. He's a choke artist. But, man, when his team is so much better, he is a front runner. He does great as a front runner. The Cardinals are going to be upset about that last loss. Lions still reeling. A bunch of guys were on COVID last week. Not sure who's coming back. Not sure that it matters, though. Cards have a lot of blowout wins this year. They don't mess around with the bad teams. They beat the Texans 31-5, 5 wins by 14 or more. Look for them to make it 6 since they win big often. They'll win big this game. Then this other line, this is the one that I'm not so sure about, but the Rams have been my unlucky team. When I bet for them, they lose. When I bet against them, they win. But you know what? We'll try it another time. We'll go Seahawks plus 4.5. Rams are a better team, a likely winner, but 7 points or 4.5 points now. This was at +7 earlier. I'm reading my notes from earlier, but I'll stick with it at 4.5. Seattle's really got things going lately. They had that fourth quarter against Washington that sort of rejuvenated them in that near comeback and also cost me a fantasy playoff spot on that last late touchdown. But then they beat a good 49ers team by 7, and they beat the Texans by 20. So they're actually all of a sudden 1 game back of a playoff spot. So I'm not sure who wins this game. I'm leaning Rams on the win, but I think that Seahawks will keep it within a field goal. Seattle plus 4.5.
Love it.
Cool. I can't wait. 2 different games, Drew. Man.
Yeah, always.
It's going to be fun. Thursday Night Football is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to that.
What do we have
All
next?
Right.
Trivia?
Sports trivia. I have a really good one. Tom, what do you have?
I've got one too, actually, for the first time.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Drew then.
All right. There are 2 teams in the NHL and in baseball. So 1 team in the NHL, 1 team in the major leagues that have the same mascot. What teams are those?
So one is the Rangers.
You got it. Correct. Well done.
The New York Rangers and Texas Rangers.
Yeah, one team in baseball.
Oh, I thought there was 2 overlapping.
No. Yeah.
No, the same mascot.
Yeah. Same mascot, yeah, but not in the same
Castleman's
city.
all over it.
Good job,
well
Castleman.
Done. The Rangers.
Yeah.
All right,
New York
Tom,
Rangers, Texas Rangers. Very good.
You have any trivia, Tom, that's a little bit harder?
The one that I have, it's from last week, and we didn't get to it because we were heavy on Heisman stuff. But Alonzo Ball in a game against the Denver Nuggets, a Bulls win, had 4 3-point shots, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. Who is the only other player in Bulls history to accomplish that feat?
So say the 4 again one time. I'm sorry.
4 3-point shots, 4 assists, and 4 blocks.
Scottie Pippen.
Not Scottie Pippen.
Michael Jordan.
Same era.
Michael Jordan.
Nope.
Tony Kukoc.
He was in The Last Dance. That's another hint.
Too many hints. Too many hints here. No.
Ron Harper.
It is Ron Harper, yeah.
There we go.
Journeyman who
Did you
played
see
with the
that?
Bulls for a couple of years.
Was that Ron Harper's son from Rutgers that hit that half-court three at the buzzer to beat Purdue?
Yes.
It was his son.
Oh, cool.
It was Ron Harper Jr., so I imagine that's his
I know.
son.
That's what I was going to look it up, but then I felt too lazy. They said Ron Harper Jr. I figured it was his son. I saw
would
it on
expect.
Sports Center.
Yeah, great win for Rutgers.
Big time win. You know who my favorite Rutgers basketball coach of all time is, right?
No. Why would any of us know that?
You should know that. Jimmy V. It's Jimmy V Week. Jimmy Valvano made that famous speech where he was talking about how he was mimicking Vince Lombardi, and he was gonna go in there and say like, "What matters? Your family, your faith." And Lombardi said the Green Bay Packers. In his speech, Jimmy V was supposed to say Rutgers basketball, but instead he said the Green Bay Packers when he recited the speech to his team. He said he was like a 24-year-old coach coaching a bunch of 22-year-olds. It was like his first job. And anyways, it's Jimmy V Week. That is one of the most legendary speeches of all time. When he was fighting cancer, made it at the ESPYs. So everyone give back to cancer and other such causes, and check out that Jimmy V speech. So that's why you should know my favorite coach ever for Rutgers basketball is Jimmy V. Yeah. Before NC State, that's where he got his start at Rutgers, his first head coaching job at the college level ever. So
there you go. What's your trivia?
Yeah, my trivia is a pretty good one. So I want to see you guys name all 5 of them. So
okay.
Most touchdown passes from a QB to a receiver or tight end. The top 5 ever. So quarterback, receiver combos, NFL history. It could be tight ends also. Most touchdown passes among.
So Manning Harrison is one of them.
Which one is it?
What do you mean?
Like what number? I want it like 1 through 5. It is one of them. Where do you think they rank on the list?
They're probably number 1.
They are number 1. Manning to Harrison. Number 1, 114 touchdown passes between them. The number 2 duo is an active one.
Wow. It's not Mahomes Kelsey.
No, they haven't played nearly.
It's not Brady Gronkowski, right?
No, it is Brady Gronkowski.
Oh, well done.
Really?
104 touchdowns, only 10 back. It'll be interesting to see if they can break that record. I actually saw a report that said Gronkowski plans to retire whenever Brady retires. So that could actually be a solid 2 more years, maybe 3. So they actually might break that record. I mean, here's the thing. If they get within 5 touchdowns, like if Gronk and Brady stay healthy enough and are playing well enough, like if they're within 4 to 5, once they get to the goal line, they'll draw it up. They'll make sure Gronkowski gets it, especially in a game where they're blowing out another team where it doesn't matter so much who gets it. They might go to him 3 straight plays. So I think Brady and Gronk are actually going to break that record. 10 back.
Montana Moss or Montana Rice.
Close. Try again.
They're not number 3. They're
not number 3.
Are they on the list?
Are they on the list?
Well, one of those guys is on the list.
So that would be Steve Young and Jerry Rice.
There you go.
Correct.
Are they number 3? All right.
Let's see.
92 touchdowns for them.
Did Culpepper and Moss play together long enough?
No.
Okay, the number 4
I'm going to go Breeze Colston.
No. Colston and Breeze didn't play long enough.
Hold on.
Elway Sharp?
No. Number 4 is one that we grew up watching.
I mean, I was going to say like Favre, Moss, but that wouldn't make sense.
Kurt Warner and Torrey Holt?
Nope.
There you go. Oh.
Isaac Bruce?
Nope, not Kurt Warner. One of these 2 recently retired. The other one retired a couple years
Rivers
back.
Gates.
Yep, Rivers Gates is number 4 with 90. And number 5, at the time of their retirement, they were number 1 in this list.
Oh, never mind then.
You'll definitely know the quarterback. I do recognize the receiver, but it's not the most recognizable guy. Let me look up on my phone how many career touchdowns he had.
I was gonna say, a Tony Gonzalez mentioned in there, but
no.
Okay, so it has to be before the 90s with Young and Rice.
Yes.
Before the 90s, both of these guys did play in the 90s, actually. Tom, both of these guys played in the 90s, but did a lot of their damage.
I don't think it was Aiken. It wasn't Aiken. He didn't have any.
Mid to late 80s.
Oh.
So not Aikman, Irvin?
Nope.
Like Drew was alluding?
Is he not in the Hall of Fame? Hold on.
Maybe. Well, Marino's definitely in the Hall of Fame. Is Dan Fouts the quarterback? He threw a lot of touchdown passes.
Surprisingly, he's not in the Hall of Fame. I feel like his numbers are good enough to be in the Hall of Fame.
Dan Fouts?
No, so I'm talking about the receiver who is not in the Hall of Fame. So that's why maybe you don't recognize him as much. You might have the quarterback right, though.
Do I have the quarterback right?
I like Marino.
Marino.
Yeah, I like Marino. Marino Johnson?
No.
Smith?
You're just guessing generic receiver names now, Drew.
Anderson?
No. I can't believe this guy's not in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know my 1980s Dolphins.
Yeah, neither
receivers.
do I.
Mark Clayton.
Okay, no, I do know the name. His son played in the NFL for Tampa. He was drafted by Tampa, I think.
I wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah, and his son helped me to my only undefeated team in fantasy back in my glory days because he helped me because I traded him for Steve Smith when Steve Smith had the best season ever for his career. When he had that season where he led the league in yards, touchdowns, and receptions, but he was tied in one of them or something. We had that trivia question a while back. So, yeah, Mark Clayton is...
Baltimore's where he played.
Oh,
Baltimore,
yeah.
That's
Clayton.
where it was.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that Dad didn't make it because he has 84 career receiving touchdowns. Look this up on my phone. Let me see where that is. I mean, he might make it. Like, how long did they give the NFL players to make the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I'm sure there's several committees after a player's done being eligible.
I mean, he's got the 19th most receiving touchdowns. He's not in the Hall of Fame. What's the problem?
Oh,
that's wild. Well, anyways, that's the trivia question.
Statement salutes. What do you have?
Did Tom have a trivia question?
That was the Alonzo Ball round.
Yeah,
Ball.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Statement salutes. I'll save mine for last.
Go ahead, Castleman. I don't have anything.
All right, so for my statement of the week, it's a foregone conclusion that Micah Parsons is going to be the defensive rookie of the year, but he absolutely should be, I think, front runner for defensive player of the year overall as a rookie. I mean, his main competition is TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. His stats are comparable from a pass rushing perspective. He has 12 sacks on the season, including 6 games in a row with at least 1 sack.
That's less than both of those guys have, though.
They're comparable, though. And here's where Micah Parsons gets the
12. I think, don't Watt has 16 and the other guy is 15 and a half, Myles Garrett?
Garrett is 15. I think Watt might be 14, give or take. But the difference is that Micah Parsons does a lot more for the Dallas defense than those guys do. Their edge rushers pretty much straight up. Parsons is dropping into coverage. He's playing all over the defense in a way that we don't often see a lot of players going. Usually, if you're getting, double-digit sacks, your hand is in the ground or you're rushing off the edge pretty much every single play. And he's coming from the A-gap out of the middle linebacker positions. He's dropping back, covering running backs and wide receivers. His impact isn't necessarily just in a couple of counting categories. And really, where you look at where Dallas's defense was last year to where they are this year, he's not the only reason, of course, that the Dallas defense is 12th in the NFL. I believe they were 29th last year, give or take a couple of spots. But he's absolutely the best player on that defense, which is amazing. from a rookie linebacker hybrid, whatever he's doing. He fills all the gaps that Dallas needs, so that's why I think he should be Player of the Year. Absolutely great pass rushing coming out of Cleveland and Pittsburgh. But for everything that he does, Micah Parsons, I think, is probably the most complete defensive player in the NFL, and I think absolutely worthy of Defensive Player of the Year outright.
Man, my computer's being slow right now. I'm trying to pull up the statistics, Tom. Oh, here we go. Holy cow, Bobby Wagner's killing it. 152 tackles for Mr. Wagner. That's pretty good. All right, TJ Watt. Right here, I'm pulling it up. Micah Parsons he's a linebacker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So Micah has 12 sacks, which is 7th in the NFL. TJ Watt is 16. Myles Garrett is 15. Tackles for loss. Micah has 17. Garrett 15. Watt 16. Man, here's a fun fact for you. Micah Parsons, 2 pass deflections. Watt actually has 4. Garrett has 3. And 4 forced fumbles by TJ Watt. Only 3 for Parsons. I don't know. I feel like all those 2 other guys are doing really well. Hard to say. I see your point, though, but I don't agree with it. I like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt ahead of him personally. As for my statement of the week, first off, I'll give a little salute. I'll give a salute to the parity in the National Football League. 26 out of 32 teams are at least a game back of a playoff spot or in the playoffs. That means there are only 6 teams right now that don't have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs. One of those 6, of course, is our Bears, Tom. But the Bears, had they won this last week, heck, they'd be in that contention maybe. So, yeah, salute to the NFL. It's been a crazy season. Every team has at least 3 losses. This late into the season, that hasn't happened in forever. And there's some statistic, I forgot what it was. I overheard it on SportsCenter, but like there's more teams who have at least 5 wins at this stage of the season than any team ever. More teams that are at least 500. Like it's a lot of parity. So hats off to the NFL, unpredictable stuff. One thing you can predict, if it's a big game against a good team, Kyler Murray will cost his team the game by throwing interceptions either inside his own 20 or in the red zone. He did it twice against the Packers, twice against the Rams. As good as the Cardinals are, as good as Kyler Murray is, he's cost his team in the clutch. That is why Kyler Murray has no discussion in the MVP debates. Unfortunately, it's going to be Tom Brady again, and Tom Brady will deserve it. He's having one of his best seasons of all time this year. But Kyler Murray is a guy that needs to learn how to win. You cannot throw interceptions inside your own 20 and inside the red zone. I'm a believer in learning from your mistakes. He did it against the Packers. Pick inside his own 20, pick inside the red zone. He did it again against the Rams. Inexcusable by Kyler Murray. Literally, in the words of Chris Traeger, cost his team the game.
And we've come full circle.
Kyler Murray just upset me this week. Kept me from a 5-0 betting locks of the week.
That's just unfortunate.
Kept me from some cash that went in other people's pockets, and including DraftKings and Drew Brackett.
Oh my
Kyler,
God.
what are you doing, Kyler?
No wonder why you're so upset.
I'm upset because the Cardinals are a better team than the Rams. They outgained them. They outplayed them. Kyler Murray threw senseless picks. DeAndre Hopkins had his first drop of the season. Why? In this game, DeAndre.
They knew you wanted them to win.
Fourth and goal. Like they had like a 4th down and like the 10-yard line. They went for it. He caught it. Would have been down at maybe the 3-yard line. Who knows? Breaks a tackle, gets a touchdown. Like, what happened, DeAndre? Also, DeAndre cost me fantasy. He got outscored by James Conner.
It was a bad Monday night for you.
It was a bad Monday night. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins costed me multiple things. Can you tell I'm not happy with the Cardinals?
Very.
Yeah, I'm sure the Patriots will make up for it on Sunday or Saturday, whenever they play.
Saturday Night Football. Patriots and Colts, they sure will. They sure will. They better. That's all I got to say. Because I won't be betting until then, probably, unless I get any more free promotions on DraftKings. No, I'm just kidding. I might have to at least bet with Drew on Thursday Night Football because Chiefs Chargers, like I got that in betting locks of the week. We gotta throw down on that one for sure. So,
Sure.
All right. Well, hey, that does it for this show. We'll be back hopefully next week. Maybe we'll do something Christmas themed. I'm sure Tom Castleman will wear a Christmas sweater. That is my prediction for next week. It is going to happen. I already knew it. So looking forward to that. And looking forward to more sports. I guess I'll go watch Steph Curry hit more threes after he broke the record. So have a good one, guys. And everyone at home watching, have a great one as well.